tena Jumatatu ijayo. Jumatatu ijayo. Tuko maandamano. Sawa. Kila Jumatatu. Mnaunga mkono. Mnaunga mkono.
Right, those were some of the voices that we heard from the former Prime Minister yesterday, of course, after attempting to get into the city, into the CBD from Serena Hotel. That was not successful. Tried another route. That was not successful. Then they used a different route to go through Eastleigh to Juja Road, back to Thika Superhighway, and off they went back to their homes. Senator Osotsi, I'll begin with you on this one. What was your take-home after all those events? It had been expected that there would be peaceful protests. It wasn't so. On Sunday, we saw a statement from the police command saying that it was an illegal protest, but Azimio still insisted on going on with it. What's your take-home?
Well, my take-home is that the police action was unwarranted. First of all, their statement on Sunday that the procession was going to be illegal. It was actually illegal in itself, because the law requires that all protesters need to do is to notify the police. And notification has no standards, because they said our notification did not meet the threshold. It has no standard. It's just to tell them, I will be demonstrating. Have you looked at the Public Order Act, Section 5? No, it is simply a notification. They don't need to give. They don't.
It just must be specified.
Yes,
time, the route.
Oh, yeah, that was.
Persons organizing it.
It was. There was a letter written to them by the chairman of Azimio, who is.
But the letter I've seen does not give any details about that.
It said we were going to have a procession, but anyway, the police have no law that says that they can declare a procession illegal. All they need to do is to protect the people, and the other people are not protesting. That is what they needed to do. But you saw what happened. Even before the procession started, they were all over town, blocking roads, harassing people. So really, what we saw yesterday, the police are largely to blame. They used tear gas where it was not necessary to use tear gas. Even they used tear gas on honorable members of parliament. When we were going to our offices at KICC, they tear gassed us. They blocked us, arbitrary arrests of honorable members, Honorable Mazayo and Honorable Wandai. So yesterday, really, I saw that the Azimio supporters were peaceful, but they were provoked by police in some cases. So the limited violence you saw was because the police used excessive force.
How do you measure limited?
Limited because the destruction of property was very limited in most places. And no one can come here and say Azimio destroyed property.
I saw a car burnt down in Kisumu. I saw the UD offices in Kisumu vandalized, including cars there. There's a car that has no battery now.
Those were isolated cases. The point I'm saying is that the force the police used was unnecessary. They should have done better. You know, we have done 15 meetings across the country. The naysayers were saying, oh, those meetings are going to be chaotic, there's going to be violence, there's going to be destruction of property. But in those meetings, no single property was destroyed.
Okay.
No single person was hurt. But it's only after we announced that now we are going to have a procession. And I was in Kiambu when we went to Kiambu with Honorable Raila. And there was a large crowd there, very peaceful. And then out of nowhere, a policeman threw tear gas on the crowd. And it was largely unnecessary. Okay. So probably they were trying to prepare for Monday. And yesterday, you saw it. They were blocking people on the roads. They were all over harassing citizens who are going to work. So really, the problem we saw yesterday was largely caused by the police, and it was unnecessary.
All right.
The Constitution of Kenya provides that Kenyans can picket, Kenyans can demonstrate, so long as they do it peacefully and unarmed. And that's what they did yesterday.
Okay, I hear you.
So Even you saw yesterday when we wanted to address a press conference at the Serena, leaders led by Honorable Raila, they were tear-gassed. Was it necessary? It wasn't necessary. So we are seeing a situation whereby Ruto's regime is panicking. And because they are panicking, they are applying unnecessary force on peaceful protesters. And we have said that we will continue with this protest every Monday. Kenyans will have a holiday, and we will proceed with our plans. Yes, we are going to have Monday holidays, starting from next Monday. You saw even yesterday we had a holiday. What
do you mean with a holiday?
Holiday means you are not working.
Why?
Was there any work yesterday in town?
I'm asking you, why would people not work if you have a protest?
We are saying, we are calling people to come and participate, our supporters to participate in the demonstration. And Azimio supporters are more than 50% of this country. So if you have 50% of this country not working, it's as well as calling it a holiday.
Anyway, I'll get back to that later. But Senator Manzo, what was the original plan?
You see, once the notice was given, pursuant to the necessary act, and I looked at it, what is most important is a notice. So for the police to decide, and I'm sure it was not their decision, it came from State House, that the protests were illegal. You know, there's always a command. I heard Bungei, say that he has no notice, yet he knew very well he had a notice. And when pressed, he changed and said now the notice did not take a certain format. They know, it's a matter of public notoriety. So all that you need to do under the Constitution is to give notice. The Public Order Act gives finer details, which they all have. And we had said that these protests were going to be, picketing was going to be countrywide. So that's why it was important to give the notice to Vigilante House, the headquarters.
What did he just say?
Oh, yes.
What did he just say? Vigil what? Yes, Vigilant.
Vigilant House, yes, Vigilant House. So the notice is proper and the protests were proper. Now, you heard the President talk of the rule of law. And I want you to allow me to be a little bit devotional, because this has happened over history and with the past kings. In 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 1 to 10, there was a king who did a consultation about, after a change of a king, the people who claimed of Israel said that, look, it has been very heavy on us. Can you lighten our burden? And the king said, I'll consult and I'll come back to you. So he consulted two sets of people. One were mature people who agreed and said, allow the burden to be made easy. And then he also consulted another set, which said, no, make it very tough. So after 3 days, he replied and said, I'm making it very hard on you. And the people protested, and now the kingdom of Israel was split into two, and the rest went their way. If you look at our situation here, the church gave its advice to the president, including Moheria, which was very balanced for the benefit of the country. But there was also another team advising the president as to what the rule of law is, and I think they got it totally wrong. The rule of law is allowing protests which are within the Constitution. In fact, Article 36 and 37 were proposed by the president himself, and that's what the rule of law is. Allow protests to go on. If you don't, there is a problem. And in the case of Nathan and King David, when King David was told of a very bad man who took the only sheep of somebody and made a feast with his friends, he didn't know it was referring to him. So finally, when it was told it is him, he was shocked. I want to tell President Ruto, in this case, he's very guilty on the protests, the people who have died. He should have allowed the protests to go on. He should not have cancelled them. And these protests are real. He knows very well that the election was highly contested. He knows very well the issue of IBC. The other day was crushed through Parliament, an amendment by Kimani Ichung'wah brought to Senate. We tried to make further amendments. They were rejected. He quickly signed into law something which knows is not going to hold this country together. So he should look at those two scenarios in the Bible, now that him and his deputy claim that they are very serious Christians and they listen to God. I think this is a time to listen to God.
Interesting. Honorable Ocheng, what did you make of the events yesterday? And first of all, what should carry the day between Article 37 and what the Public Order Act says?
Of course, Article 37 says this, and allow me to read it. It says that every person has the right, peaceably and unarmed, to assemble, demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. It is that plain. Peaceably and armed. And then Public Order Act then goes ahead to provide the moralities of ensuring that this right is effectuated. And so I want to say, first of all, that everyone has a right to demonstrate, to do all those things that happened yesterday. Everyone has that right. But the reason the Public Order Act was put together was that if the arrival, people who want to picket and all that, or if the proposed picketing or the places where this is going to be done could cause disorder in public, then that's when the police come in. And that's where the police have that, what I would call discretion. When they are told this is what's going to happen, they are supposed to advise accordingly. And the police advised on what they thought was viable. So the idea is that Ngong Road was all open for demonstrations. Mombasa Road was also open, Thika Road, everywhere was open for demonstrations. But because of critical installations, there are places that were declared to be no-go zones, as it should be. You cannot go around Parliament, destroying Parliament, or State House, or Harambee House. And so in this situation...
Honorable Ocheng, I have seen protesters go to the gate of Parliament.
That's right. That's right. And this, normally when it's adjudged, that they have peaceable intentions. This is the point. So the police...
How do you tell whether tomorrow's demonstration will be peaceful or not?
That's why you have NIS. That's why you have NIS and DCI. The reason we have these authorities is to be able to advise on the peaceability or in terms of breach of peace and the rest. It's not for you and I to decide, in my opinion. It is for the advice from the relevant and specialized institutions to decide. But the major issue here is this, Sam. Demos are very good. But you cannot want to do a demo and threaten the country and say that we're not just demonstrating, we're going to shut down the country, we'll ensure that the president leaves State House. The reason for the demonstration yesterday, and we have to be clear on this, Sam, that this demo was a flop for one reason. We were promised a petition. That there will be a petition that represents authorities, not just the presidency, but to regional commissioners in the offices and everywhere. Where was the petition? Even if you couldn't get the person presented, why was it read? There was no petition anywhere. In fact, no one knows the reason those petitions were done yesterday. Now, and so I'll tell you for sure. Number two, Ososi here is my friend. In the last 1.5 months, Ososi has done a rally in his constituency twice, big rallies in his county. One with the former president and the prime minister, and one with the prime minister. There was no single demo in Luanda yesterday. Zero. This gentleman here, there was no single demo in Makueni. Zero. So you cannot say there was a county-wide demonstration and all this. This was meant to harass business people in Nairobi. And I believe that the police were acting in the best interest of business, of the Mamboga, the boda guy.
Okay.
And so I want to make this clear, Sam, that demos are okay. And even I think next Monday, people can demonstrate. But let's be clear. And Jaramogi used to say this whenever, people told him that, you had a very big rally yesterday in Kisumu. You've taken this thing. You tell them, no, even Kenyatta can have a Kisumu rally in Gatundu. So those who think they have people should also be aware that others also have people. Everyone has their supporters. So if for example, Sam, tomorrow, and no one discounts the fact that Raila Odinga is respectable, commands following this country. That's not denied. But that following must be used for the right reasons. You cannot say that because you are following, then you're going to blackmail the country, hold the whole country to ransom because you are following. It's an abuse of that power and following.
Okay. Sam. Please take note. I'll get back to you for your right of reply. But Honorable Lenguri, so did you make of the events yesterday? And moving forward, because there could be different reasons why people want to demonstrate or picket, how must we do things to ensure that we have good order?
Yeah, something that has come out clearly yesterday is that the demo was resoundingly rejected by Kenyans. If you look at what the people were demonstrating yesterday, there were only 2 counties out of 47 counties. So there was a general rejection from all over the country.
Which 2?
People did not, it was only Nairobi and part of Kisumu. The rest of the counties were peaceful.
Demonstrations in Nakuru, in
No, but I think very minimal.
Zoya,
but they were peaceful, nothing, no vandalization. No, in big sense, there were only 2, Kisumu and Nairobi. And you look at what the reasons for demonstration, they had actually said they are doing things to reduce the cost of living. That was the agenda. But I was asking myself a question. Destroying people's property, will it reduce the cost of living? Looting in this country, because we have seen looting here in Nairobi, we have seen looting in Kisumu, does it reduce the cost of living? Vandalization of shops and roadsides, will it reduce the cost of living? We have seen people, business people, the mamambogas, losing their small businesses they are doing at the roadsides. So this does not in any way relate to the agenda that the Azimio team wanted to bring to the president. My brother said they wanted to deliver a memorandum. Where was it delivered? We saw demonstration in Esli, in Thika Road. They were too much to State House. There was no agenda that was presented. So actually, the Kenyans rejected the demonstration because Raila has used the youths of this country for so many years for his own personal benefits. Look at what happened in 2007, 2012, 2017. How many times must we do the demonstrations? Because Raila is actually using the youths of this country for his own personal benefits. Recently, we were electing people for Yala. He proposed her son, her daughter. Kalonzo Musyoka, his son. So where was the interest of the rest of the youths of this country? So he was only doing this kind of riots and demonstrations for the handshake that is not going to be given by this government, the current government of William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. So
I'm just wondering, do those son and daughter have their own private rights, individual rights as citizens of Kenya?
Yes, but if you care about the Kenyans, because Raila can feed his children, Raila can take his children to school, but any chance that arises to Kenyans, to the common mwananchi, if he really cares for the Kenyans the way he's saying, because he's moving all over, pretending that he's caring for the Kenyans. If he cares for the Kenyans, that chance could have gone to another poor child of this country.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I'm receiving 2 statements here in the incident that I think one of you referred to, the shooting incident in Kisumu County. And of course, the governor of Kisumu, that is Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, talks about the police should exhibit professionalism and restraint while quelling riots instead of using brutality on an armed protester or unarmed protesters. But the statement from the police is talking about how the students started pelting stones at the police line, where they damaged window panes in 10 houses and the police station. They've overpowered the police officers who were manning the station. The fact that the officers had run out of tear gas canisters and blanks, since police officers were injured during, 6 police officers rather, were injured during the skirmishes, and this prompted the officers who had been sent out to quell the intruders to fire live bullets, and consequently William Mayange, a third-year student, was hit on the neck. He was rushed to Coptic Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. But anyway, still, the police said that it's a matter that is pending under investigation.
Yes.
But is there something that you needed to do to ensure that no life is lost? Because once the police declared the protests illegal, what was the best decision to take?
There's a matter which has not been dealt with properly. I really want to say that Winnie and Kennedy have their own political rights. And I want to inform the honorable member that any applications are open to any Kenyan through their political parties, and the slots are through political parties.
But they were nominated.
Wait a minute. So what happens is that finally you go to the floor of the House, seek votes. You can be given or you can be rejected. And I really want to say that that narrative is very poor. Parliament had a choice to reject those 2 or to elect them. And she's one of the voters there. In fact, I remember a young man called Shege, I've never met him, who had been rejected at State House, and I voted for him when he came to the House.
We all did.
Because he had been handled very badly, and he's a young fellow I failed for and voted for him. And probably if we did not vote for him, we would not have gone to Yala. So I think that story of attacking the families of politicians really is unfair. Those children also have their own rights. And also children learn from parents. If you know, some people become teachers because their fathers were teachers. What do you want a child of a politician to become? They have a choice. If they want to join politics, they should not be shut down.
Okay.
They should be given that opportunity so that they try their chance.
Okay, point made.
And on about the deaths,
yes.
You know, under the Public Order Act, the moment you allow demonstrations, if something starts going wrong, there is something called proclamation. And after you issue proclamation, a certain period of time must expire if the people have not dispersed. And if you look at the arrest of the members of parliament, there was no proclamation. If you look before the shooting, there was no proclamation. And therefore, the government got the whole thing wrong. And
there was a proclamation, and you've asked us about it.
Just a moment, you'll have a chance to answer. What happens in this case, and I can assure you, any of these cases, and I'm going to be one of the lawyers, in any of the people who have been arrested and they will be charged today or on Thursday, none of those cases will succeed, for the police did not adhere to the Public Order Act. And even the act of say that demonstrations or picketing cannot happen in itself is unconstitutional. And therefore, the police are totally wrong in this particular matter. They have a right to protect life. The young people are not using guns, so you can't use a gun back. And trust me, if the police did not bother, if they first of all did not stop the picketing, and if they did not bother with anybody, no one would have died in this country, no one would have been injured, no property would have been destroyed. This particular one, the president is squarely to blame, and the IG or police. And these crimes they are committing, they should actually be reported to The Hague. They are crimes against humanity.
But how do you bring the name of the president into this?
He's the boss of the IG. He's the one, he spoke himself. He gave orders. He's the one who declared the demonstrations illegal.
Senator Manzo, you and I know that the president legally cannot give directions to the police.
And he didn't.
He did.
He does it.
He did.
Does it.
Fortunately, he issued a statement. He was the first one to declare these demonstrations illegal. He has personalized the matter. He's scared of them. He knows what it means because of the book I've just cited, 1 Kings 2, 1 Kings chapter 2, number 1 to 10, applies totally into the Kenyan situation. He's scared of the people.
I haven't got an answer from Senator Osotsi on what was the better way to deal with the statement from the police, knowing too well that there was that danger. There could be destruction of property and even lives being lost.
Sam, maybe let me start with the right of reply to my friend here, Honorable Chen, where he claims that we cannot access other areas in the city. I want to remind him, because he's a good lawyer, that unless he's losing his mind because of the political conviction that he now holds, but the Constitution provides for the right of assembly, for freedom of movement. And I don't think there is any place that Kenyans can strictly be restricted to go to, if they want to go to.
Including State House.
Including State House.
A public office.
And I want to tell you, Article 1 of the Constitution clearly states there's sovereign power of the people of Kenya. The people come number one. They only delegate that power to the executive, to legislature, and to judiciary. Now, Azimio, we have decided to invoke Article 1 of the Constitution because we have realized Parliament is under hostage by the state. They are buying members of Parliament, including Honorable Cheng here. And
you can't allow him.
Yeah, that is the truth.
I think
that is the truth.
I mean, there must be some level.
No. Let me continue. You had your time. You had your time.
On that one, I will.
Honorable Cheng.
No, that is the truth.
Honorable Cheng, the bit of it is that you're here.
The Honorable Cheng signed a coalition agreement. He's one-man party. signed MDG, signed a coalition agreement with Azimio. Tell him to tell us today on this TV station why he decided, even before he was sworn in as a member of parliament, he had started moving towards Kenya Kwanza. So, and we know many others, even in Nyanza, the 9 MPs, we know what happened, what happens behind the scene. So, parliament has been taken hostage. Judiciary, we know what is happening. So what options are there? Is to invoke Article 1 of the Constitution, go back to the people. And that's what we are.
What are they telling you now? What are the people telling you?
We have gone through People's Assembly, barazas across the country. And Kenyans have complained about high cost of living. Kenyans have complained about unfulfilled promises of Kenya Kwanza regime. Kenyans have complained about corruption and many other issues, so electoral justice and all that.
What is that path to solutions of what Kenyans are telling you in those barazas?
By what we have decided to go the people way. And the people way is to engage the people in demonstration, is to engage people in barazas.
I mean,
and we have said very clearly.
So what is the strategy so that what you're doing yields results?
Let me tell you one thing, and I need you to give me time to explain. That, for example, yesterday, he's talking about petition. They blocked us. They blocked all the avenues to present the petition. But we have said we now understand their tactics. We are going to become better, more organized, and bigger as we go on with our Monday holidays. So, Mr. Cheng, please relax. All these things that you have said did not happen are going to happen. And for demonstrations, the focus was on Nairobi yesterday. You remember after the lapse of our 14-day ultimatum, we said that demonstrations should happen county-wide. In Vihiga, it happened immediately, on the same day of that declaration. So we are going to see more counties demonstrating. And as I've said, it's going to become bigger, more organized, more tactful. So even access to those areas is going to happen.
Senator, I need to spread the question to the rest, but tell me this, because you're an elected leader. You sit at the Senate, one of the decision-making organs for this country. You're saying that Parliament is captured, the judiciary is captured, but also you're saying there are certain concerns that Kenyans have. And I'm just wondering, if you take it back to the people, telling them not to work, how does that yield to results? How is that strategy?
Let me tell you, in mass action, you know, the way Kenyans' understanding of mass action is demonstration, going to the streets and doing all those things. But there are various forms, various techniques in mass action. We are going to employ those. We are going to employ those.
The problem is cost of living. How will that...
No, let me go there. Let me go there. The problem of cost of living is a problem of all of us, yes, but the people in power made promises to these Kenyans that they will be able to do certain things within a specified period of time. They have not done that. And when they are questioned, they start now playing politics, making it a Raila issue, and the arrogance around them. You have just listened to Honorable Member here, Pauline, talk about. He's trying to make it a Raila issue. This is not a Raila issue. No, this is a Kenyan issue.
You're not answering my question, so allow me to cross to Honorable Cheng so that you think about it. I'll come back for the answer. But Honorable Ochieng, so there are all these concerns, and we have had these of Parliament is captured, judiciary is captured, no institution is working. But you, as an elected leader, what would be your role to ensure that some of those concerns, at least there are solutions being sought?
I will answer that question, and then I'll be able to respond to very ridiculous, you know. Look, I sit in the budget committee in Parliament today. And what we have done in the upcoming budget is to make provisions in that budget sum for things that will ensure that our people are taken care of in terms of the cost of living. We've made resources available in that budget. We're going to make resources available in that budget for water, business, ways of generally reducing the cost of living for the country. And I'm certain that, you know, in the next 1.5 months, we'll see when that budget comes. Because 2 weeks ago, we passed a supplementary budget, and that was the budget of the other government. And so there's not only so much we could do about it, but I'm certain that in provision of fertilizer, seed, water, and ensuring that places that are far-flung like Northeastern that are having problems are given resources and capacity to ensure that they deal with the ongoing drought and hunger, I think are the areas where we are looking at. The biggest issue here, which must be talked about, Sam, is the insistence on Azimio that you must return the subsidy. That one of the conditions they have is that you must return the maize subsidy. And this is the first time we're talking about this on Citizen TV. The maize subsidy was a scandal, was a con. You can't insist on something that is purely corruption. It's not helping anybody. You can't be paying 5, 6, 8, 10 billion for maize that no one is seeing. And so I'm saying that this government should be given a chance to implement their manifesto. There's no way you're going to ask this government to present its report card in 6 months. It's just not possible. And so I believe that all of us who care for this country should bring the ideas we have on the table and say, this is the way we think it should be done. Let this be discussed. And Sosi and Honorable Manzo here, sit with me in Parliament. I've not seen, and let me tell you, now I have a privilege of presiding in Parliament once in a while. Most of the time, the minority side is missing in the House. Where I see in the National Assembly, you'll find Kenya Kwanza has 50, 60 MPs, and the Azimio has 5, 6 MPs on the floor of the House, any one point in time, including the leadership. They come for a short time. They come in and they're given the first 2, 3, 4 minutes, they say what they want to say, walk out. No one leads that side of the government, of the Parliament anymore. And so if someone tells you that Parliament has been bored or whatever it is, ask him, like you've asked, what are these measures that you proposed? I would imagine, you know, where the minority leader in National Assembly would propose and say that this is our alternative budget. Even it's not going to be debated. We did a supplementary budget. I would imagine a situation where the minority presents an alternative report to Ndindi Nyoro's report that this is the budget we thought should have been to help Kenyans lower the cost of living. 2 weeks ago, last week, we presented the budget policy statement in Parliament. Again, this went through all the committees of Parliament. This also went through Budget Committee. I would imagine that the opposition side would say, the minority side would say that this is your budget policy statement, but this is our own. This is how we want things to be done. Then you go to Mandamano. But if you decide, and this is very important, Sam, these Mandamanos are not about cost of living.
What are they?
They're not about IBC. They are about the insistence after every election of a section of the country of gaining entry to power. Let's agree on this basic principle, that if you went to an election, even if you won by 1, that's why Katiba talks about 50 plus 1. If the person elected as senator for Makueni only won by 1 vote, he's a senator for Makueni. If the person elected for senator for Vihiga only won by 2 votes, he's a senator for Vihiga. Same for the president, that the Katiba says that you will get 50 plus 1 votes, not 50 plus 1,000. The president of the country today is William Samoei Ruto. He's the president. Now, it doesn't matter how many votes he won with. And it doesn't matter what Raila Odinga thinks his following is. We all submitted ourselves to an election and agreed that we will abide by the result of that election. The elections are behind us. I believe that now is the time to build the economy. This is not the time to start telling us how powerful you are, how people don't know how powerful they're going to see your power. I don't believe that it's right for the Azimio side to use their following to undermine, interfere with the very well-trained process of trying to recover the economy. Sam, what disturbs me most today is the almost personal hatred that that side of politics has against the president. It's almost personal. It's not about the president, it's about the person of the president. They despise him. They believe he shouldn't have won the elections. They believe that he didn't belong. And that has to be stopped. People have to accept the fact that William Ruto is the president of the country today and work with him. Number 2, on the issue of demos yesterday, and again, this is very important, Sam. You saw protesters taunting the police that this tear gas is not sweet enough. This tear gas is not pungent enough. We want the right tear gas. This is what happened in Kisumu. This is what happened in Maseno. So you go to the demonstrations, and if there's no tear gas, you cry for tear gas. If you are given tear gas, you cry this is too pungent or less pungent. Let's agree that, and you know, Sam, 20th of March. What was the magic about 20th of March? The magic was that there was demos in Tunisia, Nigeria, and South Africa. There was nothing magical about 20th. And you saw what happened in South Africa yesterday. Guys were at picket lines. Guys were on the roads, protecting the road infrastructure, but being able to pass across their message very peacefully, learning from the best. So I believe that we can actually demonstrate and present our petitions the right manner. We don't have to bring inside shows. I was also here when we came to Parliament through a nomination in 2017. Midway, he left his party leader, joined another formation, was paid so much money by that side that he says pays money, because that's the only way you know that money is paid. Because he believes that every time someone moves, they have to be paid money. He left his party leader to go another way, went another side when Uhuru was purging these people. And by the way, so it's always very difficult when the shoe is on the other foot. Let's work for this country in oneness.
Okay.
Because I wanted just to finish.
No, I want
to finish this, Sam. This is very important. Let me just make this point, Sam, please. That in Kisumu, my heart goes out to business owners in Kisumu. You know, the Imperial Hotel, which is now Sarova, has just been opened after huge renovation. It was not working for almost 2-3 years since COVID. The owners have put so much money in it. Protesters went and broke the windows there. KCB Bank in Kisumu, there's a bar called Pit Stop, which they claim Jalang was interested in. As in, protesters going to a place saying that these are not our properties. This KCB is owned by government, we shall bring it down. It is the height of anarchy and hooliganism that we must speak against. Even protesters, my friend also here has not talked about it. Let's tell our protesters that it's good to protest, but it's good to protest peacefully. We can't be destroying our property and hope that we're going to get anyone. And finally, on the matter of protests yesterday in Nairobi, this is supposed national protest. Why are you taking them to Luo zones in Mathare and Juja Road and Kibra? What are you trying to tell the country? Thank you, Sam.
You know, Honorable Cheng, I'm sure you watched what happened leading to the change of route. There was an attempt to get to the city, then the motorcade went to a different direction.
They were told which routes they could use.
Which ones?
They knew the routes. I mentioned them to you. Did you see anybody using Ngong Road or Langata Road or Mombasa Road? None. What they wanted was to access places where they had been told these are no-go zones. And about Mondays,
just hold on, we'll come back. Let's listen to the President and the Deputy President on what they said about the situation yesterday.
I will ensure, as President, that this country is governed by the rule of law, and nothing extra-legal, nothing extra-constitutional, nothing outside the law is going to be part of what we do as a nation.
In the CBD, the country has lost almost 2 billion shillings in terms of business. And this is money that should have been circulating in the economy. We want to urge these people to consider this afternoon to call off the chaos, the mayhem, the intimidation, because what they are doing is destroying our economy.
And Honorable Lenguris, at some point, it has to reach a point and you say, it doesn't matter who is right or wrong, but we have a country, and the young, the old, everyone depends on that country and its success. So what do you think should be, because all of you are in positions of leadership, what do you think must be the path to looking for that sobriety and looking for solutions so that leaders can speak to each other, deal with their own concerns amongst themselves, and let Kenyans thrive?
Okay, Sam, I think we agree that the cost of living of this country is very high. Number two, I don't think it's the making of the current government. We found ourselves in this, and we must all work together in order to reduce the cost of living for all Kenyans. Organizing for demos will not reduce the cost of living. Looting in this country will worsen the cost of living. Destroying properties owned by Kenyans and stopping them from working, like what we lost yesterday, is worsening the cost of living for the Kenyans in this country. I think we have avenues that we can all work together, the government side, the opposition side, in order to reduce the cost of living and make the life of Kenyans better than it is now. The programs that we have as a country, the supporting our farmers with subsidy, with fertilizers, building of dams like the ones we have been discussing here before, ensuring that places that have no water can get water for irrigation, supporting women through SMEs, empowering our mothers to do business. I think those are some of the reasons, and those are some of the avenues that we can help in trying to mobilize our people to reduce the cost of living, also for them to be able to have money to take care of their needs. But organizing them to go to the roads, organizing them to go destroying properties of other Kenyans, organizing them to go on public holidays every Mondays, I think we'll be losing money like what we lost yesterday. We'll be destroying a lot of properties and also be losing lives, like the lives that we lost yesterday. My friend said here that the president should be held responsible, and I strongly believe that the organizer of the protest yesterday should be held responsible for the deaths that were caused yesterday. Because if you didn't organize for the demonstrations, those guys would not have lost their lives. But you call the innocent Kenyans, you use them on the roads. Afterwards, they run with their big vehicles, they leave them in the roads and even not knowing how they would go back to their homes. I think it's a situation that should stop. We should not be engaging our youths into programs or into demos that will not help them in any way, but we should engage them positively in programs that can help them. We have the hustler funds. Let us encourage our youth to apply for this funding. They can do businesses. Let us encourage them to go and do farming. Let us encourage them to do programs or activities that can ensure that they have something to eat, instead of taking them to the roads and killing them there. And we come here blaming the government and the police. I want in front of these cameras today to commend the work that has been done by the police yesterday. Because if it was not for them, I think we could be in a worse situation today. They have really contained the demos, and whichever happened was because the Protestants wanted just to destroy this country. And I want to thank the police for the good work they are doing, and we want to continue supporting them to act professionally as they did yesterday, to protect the innocent Kenyans, protect their properties, and protect their lives.
You know, Honorable Nengoris, I hear you apportioning blame where it should go. It shouldn't go to the president, it should go to the former prime minister. But I'm also concerned because I see different statements from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, signed by Roslyn Odede, the chairperson, saying that they are going to call for investigations into that by IPOA, but also saying that the right to picket enshrined in the Constitution must be respected and honored. The Commission further affirms that any human rights violation or abuse in the context of these demonstrations must be investigated promptly, thoroughly, and impartially. That's the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. But there's also a statement from some civil societies, CRECO among them, Kenya Human Rights Commission itself, KHRC, and Muhuri, and all of them are condemning the action by the police. I'm just wondering, how do we get out of that? Because if Article 37 allows people to picket, the police have their own protocol that allows them when to use force.
Yeah.
And people are probably vandalizing property. I mean, how do you apportion blame, and how do you resolve that?
Sam, we can look at what happened yesterday. You can see the protesters throwing stones to the police. Immediately in the morning when they started, in Kibera, they started throwing stones to the police. Number two, they started throwing stones, destroying the shops and looting immediately in the morning. So that, I think even whatever they did in the morning, that is what provoked the police to start using the tear gas. Because if they did not allow, if they allowed these guys to go on with what they had planned yesterday, I'm sure we could have been engaged in so much loss in this country.
So who do you hold responsible? Is it that
it is the protesters and the planners of the protest?
Is it citizen throwing the stone, or is it Raila Odinga, or is it President Ruto? Who?
First, for me personally, as polling, the planners of these riots. And number one should be Raila Omolo Odinga, because he's actually the one who's using these protesters. Raila wants something in the government, because this is actually what happened in 2007. He organized demos for so many days, and then he resorted off getting the Nusum cut. In 2012, the same thing. Even recently with Uhuru Kenyatta, he continued with the demonstration until the government gave in, and he was given a portion of the government. That is what he wants to do even now. You heard what my friend saying here, that they will continue with the demos every Monday. We will be continuing to have the public holidays every Monday, so that we will consistently disturb this government until they give in. But I want to tell my friends here that this is an organized government. We are not going to give in to your pressures. Okay. The government is organized. They have their own ways of addressing the issues that we are facing as a country, the issues of high cost of living. How do we go on reducing the cost of living? There are plans for this. Okay. And we sit with them in Parliament and they know all these plans. There are also ways of presenting your petitions. You must not go to the roads in order to present your petitions. You must not go to the roads to destroy properties in order to bring your petition. There are organized ways of bringing your petition to the government, and we are open to this.
Honorable Lengoris, I hear a lot of things, and I've heard a lot of times, to the extent that I think sometimes I keep repeating the questions. Yeah. Sometimes to the same people, because Raila Odinga already said that he has insisted that he never got a portion of the government. I was speaking to him on Saturday. I challenged him that...
so he got?
He got.
Just hold on. I challenged him that...
Nusumkate, the handshake...
Some members of parliament got chairmanship positions. He said that that is in parliament, and members of parliament choose their chairpersons. But I'm not getting a lot of answers in terms of the solution out of this, because we've seen this before, and it doesn't end well. Senator Manzo, yes. What would be the solution out of this stalemate?
First and foremost, to reduce the cost of living, one, you have to reduce the cost of power, because power is used in manufacturing, and when you make manufacturing very expensive, then the products become high. Secondly, you have to reduce the cost of fuel, because the cost of fuel affects everything. What is wrong with the cost of fuel now? It was be assisted by subsidy. And when we are not using the subsidy, there are very many taxes on fuel. And if you check the cost of fuel in Kenya is obviously higher than Uganda and Tanzania. So if you reduce those two, then you are likely to affect a lot of people, and you are likely to reduce the cost of living. But coming to...
No, but in your opinion, you think those are the key problems we have, or it's a political issue?
The bigger problem in this country is corruption. You've heard Rigathi talking of 2 billion shillings. That is what is lost to corruption.
Businesses.
Daily. That is lost to corruption daily. And almost all our budget goes into corruption. There are no proper mechanisms which have been put in by the government to deal with corruption. We have the devolved units. A lot of corruption is going on there. And you have not devolved the ESCC. You have not strengthened ESCC sufficiently.
Senator, you're losing me, yes, because I'm asking you a specific question. Yeah. The demonstrations yesterday were not about corruption.
Yes.
The three issues, whether it's cost of living, IBC server, IBC reconstitution. That aside, what we have now, the president and his deputy speaking against Raila Odinga and his team, is it an economic issue or is it a political question?
It is a political.
It's both. It's an economic issue and it's a political question.
A political question.
The political question is this way. Parliament is under capture. Whatever called rule of law, whatever laws are being made, like the law which was made in relation to appointment of IBC, clearly favors the president, and he doesn't want to cede away. The power the president is holding is not his own power. It is the power of the people. And the people can decide to withdraw that power anytime, including exercising their Article 37, which is also a rule of law, which is law, which they have a right to follow, and making sure that he complies with what we are suggesting. The way forward on IBC, that law has to be brought back again to the House. We have to follow the model of President Moi of 1997, which was a lot of wisdom, and have an IPPG similar package. And that law can be amended in an afternoon. Now that is in capture of the Parliament. Once you amend that law, you will make sure that the arbiters, the referee of the coming elections, is an election everyone can believe in. But obviously, he wants to be re-elected, and he must use every opportunity he has now, calling it rule of law, which is not, to make sure he's re-elected and rules the people by his power.
When there's all that suspicion, do you think there can be a solution?
Well, yes, there can only be one solution. Parties have to talk. And the church has given that way forward. If the president thinks he's going to rule the country by force, not by law, and not by negotiating where there is a problem, and by making an unfair law. You know, you can make a law which is illegal. You can a law which is arrived at by bribing members of parliament and by stealing members of parliament is not a law. It's anarchy. And at the moment you try to force that law on the people, you are going to get a revolution. So the president is looking for a revolution.
So you want to talk?
Parties must talk, must engage on this particular one. We amend that law, we go back to the drawing board, and we have a fair habitat. The moment you have no fair habitat, Senator, I don't see a reason of having elections in 2027. No need.
Senator Sotsi, so if the solution is to talk, because I posed this question to the former Prime Minister on Saturday, and he said that the point of talking would come after Monday, but also accused the president of Kiburi, Madaha, and so many other adjectives that he described. So if this, one of the solutions is to have conversations, how do you pursue that?
Well, maybe before I come to that, is the issue of the solution to this problem of cost of living. The Kenya Kwanza regime, they made some promises. One that is very familiar with many Kenyans is the cost of unga to cost 70 shillings. But that has not happened. And my colleague here, Honorable Ocheng, has said that in the budget, they have factored in various measures to reduce the cost of living. I have looked at that budget. I have also had an opportunity to review the regime's plans around cost of living. And I can say that the level of commitment towards reducing the cost of living is very, very, very low. Last week, I was so surprised that the Ministry of Agriculture is planning to lease land in Zambia to plant maize. And I said, what ridiculous policy is that? Because we have a lot of land in this country. We can do irrigation to plant food here. Because by leasing land in Zambia, you are simply taking jobs to Zambia. And the cost of production is also going to go up. Honorable Ocheng has also talked about subsidies. Let me tell you, they keep on talking about the economic sense of subsidies. It is not more economic, but it is more social protection. Subsidies are there for social protection, to reduce the cost of commodities. And when they keep on saying that this money was misused, where is the evidence? Where is the evidence? They should tell Kenyans the truth. The truth is that the donors have given conditions, conditionalities on the issue of subsidies. They have told them to remove subsidies. That is the reason. It is not because...
So that's the reality. Why won't you understand it?
It is not because of the lack of economic sense in the subsidies. It is donor conditionalities that is making them do that.
And so why would...
So what we are saying, the most important thing is to reduce the cost of these commodities. It is not about trying to explain to Kenyans about the economics around it. People just want food at a reduced price.
You see, you're at a better advantage than many Kenyans in this country because you sit at the at Parliament.
Yes.
So if you have this information, why is it so difficult for you to understand that the economics of running government can have such kind of conditionalities and pressure from the external world so that you look for a better solution, for a different solution?
You see, what I'm wondering is why they're not able to tell Kenyans that.
No, but you know it.
We know it, and that's why we are telling them that stop cheating Kenyans, that you are removing subsidies because they were misused. If they were misused, can you tell us who misused and how much money was misused? They're not able to do that. Let me go to another...
No, we're running out of time.
Let me go to another...
I asked you a question about if the solution is to have conversations. How should that be done?
Well, Honorable Raila has clearly stated that he is not interested in a handshake. They have used that narrative to try and divert attention of Kenyans from the issues Raila Odinga is raising. We are saying we can sit down with them, negotiate on the issue of cost of living, on the issue of electoral justice. It is not just about opening servers. There are so many things there. We can sit down and talk about the issue of corruption, the issue of lack of inclusivity in this government, and many other issues. We are ready to do that. But we are saying, can we have a situation where we have respect? Because when you hear Mr. Gachagua talking, he talks carelessly. You even have heard my sister here talk. And you know, they all talk against Raila. This is a product of Raila. By the way, she almost won 2017 seat for women rep in Samburu on ODM ticket. So let us have some respect. And that is why Honorable Raila was right to say, Kiburi. These people are talking with Kiburi. These people think that they own Kenya. And these people are acting as if we are back in the days of Kanu. The days of Kariuki Chotara, the days of Mulu Mutisia, where people were chest thumping. We want a situation where we can have respect, where we can address the issues of this country, where we cannot bulldoze through issues in parliament, like the IBC law. Laws that affect elections are negotiated laws. They are not laws that you can just push through to pass through parliament and say you have the law there. Utadu, we want a situation where we can negotiate these things and say, this is what the opposition want, this is what the government wants, where can we close the gaps? That is the situation. But if we continue the way we are continuing, the kind of talk, hard talk from that other side, it is simply going to make things very difficult.
Okay, so, all right, I hear you. What us to take a look at the feedback? At Citizen TV, just hold on. At Citizen TV Kenya.
I should at least respond.
Being Charlie, I give you two an opportunity to speak then. Being Charlie is saying, a government that thrives in chest thumping and shareholders' appointments will attract nothing but chaos and anarchy. Babu Michael, if you monitor the demos in Kenya and in South Africa, you will note that in Kenya, the police are the ones who made the demos in this country look destructive and violent. Throwing tear gas to peaceful demonstrators was unacceptable. Honorable Lilian Sioi, the Azimio leader should now evaluate the cost of mass action and seek an alternative way of engaging, which is through parliament. As a country, we lost about 2 billion shillings through the demos that led to closing down of businesses. Godi Baraza, Raila Odinga is a man on a mission. His calls for mass action will yield an audience with the president through the mediation of the international community, something he can simply get by picking up a phone and calling the president. Jason Njoki, Azimio Brigade should give Kenyans a break. They definitely are not doing demos for Kenyans. It is pure personal interest and handshake seeking. Maandamano Mondays should be countered firmly by police with more force. Kenya is greater than Raila. And Agoro Chelsea, the law allows demonstrations in Kenya. President Ruto needs to aggressively engage the opposition, both officially and in private, on serious national issues. The government is protecting people's businesses by firing tear gas in places of business. And Alan Guru, you're saying, Honorable Ching needs to be honest with us. They have funds in the Constitution to develop their respective constituencies. They cannot be paid money at State House and abandon their parties in the name of seeking development. And Okelo Mwalimu, whoever believes or wants us to believe that it is too early in the day to rate current regime's performance is either unaware of Kenya Kwanza's campaign pledges or an opportunistic intruder in Kenya Kwanza government. The protesters are just reminding President that he should honor his promises. Lokono Wilson, the last one. Sometimes I find it funny. How can a member of parliament want a government to account on promises after 6 months or himself on the manifesto he or she presented to his constituents? He hasn't accomplished. Let's work on proper avenues for this stuff. 10 seconds, Honorable Cheng.
No, I think we just need to evaluate the concept of the people. So when someone says the people will go to State House, will storm State House, storming can never be peaceful. So I just want to remind us that kama ni kiburi, kila mtu awache kiburi.
Okay.
We cannot have one side talking on their teeth and they're claiming others are talking on their teeth. Let's deal with that. Number 2 is groupthink won't help us. Let's get the issues that need to be addressed. Let's address them. But let's accept the results of an election. The election will produce winners and losers. And once it's done, let those who have been chosen to govern the best way they know.
All right. Thank you. All of you have been elected. Senator Godfrey Sotsi, Honorable David Ochieng, Senator Dan Manzo, and Honorable Pauline Lenguris. I'm sorry I can't give another opportunity because you're practically out of time. Thank you all for making time for us, and thank you, the viewer, for your feedback as well of this conversation. Remember, we only have one country. My name is Sam Gituku. See you some other time.